the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society has been doing this. Their whole mission is the end of blood cancers.
Yep.
And it's a powerful mission right there. I love that. Yeah.
So, I mean, when you think about it, with leukemia, lymphoma, I mean, cancer is the number 2 cause of death in the United States. And as we live longer, then it will ultimately overtake heart disease. It just so happens that my cancer and my treatment led to my heart disease and heart failure and heart transplant. So the goal here for me is just to make it easier on the next person up.
Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Unlock Potential. I'm Brian Delaney. Our focus this season is fitness. I'll be joined by Dr. Corey Duvall, who's going to guide us through his protocol for getting into your best shape so we can live our best lives and serve others well. Welcome to another episode, and it's a special episode of Unlock Potential. We're so glad you joined us today. Today we are going to be talking about our 24 hours of staying active for life, or a fundraiser that we have going on coming up right in October. Right now we're signing up the leaders of the different teams. We're finding out who's interested. There are so many people who have expressed interest in doing this work with us for the benefit of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and all the work that they do, not only in treatment, but research, in building community for those people. And I'm just so fired up because this only started, this whole process got started for me back in, I believe it was March when we were in Nevis.
Yeah.
And we had that original conversation, and I saw the affinity there. Yeah. And so I know a lot of people have had the opportunity to watch our long ass episode where we talk about your story. In my opinion, that episode is not a minute too long because of all the value that's in there. That could be a series, that could be a class on mental resilience, on just resilience in general. And so excited to be joined by you. Let's talk a little bit about why we're doing this 24 hours of staying active for life to benefit specifically the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and what the benefits are going to be. There's a lot of people who are inspired to do charity, to be generous, but the way that we're setting this up is with companies and organizations being able to sign up as a team to compete. They don't have to do the full 24 hours of fitness, so there's a few of us that are, definitely.
Yeah, just crazy enough.
Yeah, just crazy enough, right? Yeah. Just inspiring enough. That's what we'll call it. We'll call it inspiring.
Yeah. There's a fine line.
She is so inspiring. He's very inspiring today. So. But with this just starting off in March, I just want to revisit some of the things that inspired you, because this is not going to be your first 24-hour challenge that you've done. What inspired the first one? Obviously, your diagnosis, you're fighting through it. The two of you being together. What were some of the other pieces to that?
So, I mean, so this all happened in COVID. Like prior to COVID, we were so used to just traveling here and there and doing give back events with people in person. And then when the pandemic hit, it was wild. We were like, well, that's a big part of our life. We're missing that ability to come together and be able to do something more. So with Zoom kind of becoming, a really powerful way to communicate and come together, we thought, why not do exactly what we were doing before, but just bring everyone together virtually and do a 24-hour event. Yeah. Doesn't matter where you live at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And for me, I don't want to make it too heavy too fast here, but honestly, we're doing this for the people who can't.
That's right. I love that.
I survived. I've survived non-Hodgkin's lymphoma for the past 20 years, and that is a responsibility that I don't take lightly. And my job as a survivor is to make it easier for the next person that hears that diagnosis. You've got cancer. So I sat there in the chemo lounge in my Barca lounger, and I got used to friends coming and sitting next to me, and I knew their names, and we would share stories of what we were going through. And then one day they just don't show up anymore. And it's not because their chemotherapy regimen has finished, has completed. It's their life has finished. And for me, I remember all of those people, and I remember not knowing if I was going to be that next person. I wasn't, and therefore I give back. That's with great responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Great power has great responsibility. But But for as lucky as I've been, as blessed as I've been, I have to give back.
Yeah, I think us sharing in that responsibility, because at one point you were somebody who couldn't,
Yeah.
who became somebody who could,
Right.
which is not usually how that story goes.
Right.
It goes from somebody who could to somebody who couldn't.
Right.
And I think that's really powerful. And this is like one of the inspirations for us doing a yearly fundraiser as the Delaney Agency and now as Unlocked Potential has been this idea of giving back. There hasn't been anything that's been more effective in dealing with mental health for me personally, in dealing with feeling not just massive success through business, but that unshakable fulfillment that comes when you experience well-being.
Yes.
When you experience that well-being of knowing that you're of benefit to others. And I don't know why I'm programmed that way. I don't know why we are all programmed that very same way. We all share that in common. I don't know why, but you don't have to know why. You just do.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. And so we just respond. We get to respond to that. And knowing that there's an organization out there doing the most good, that I don't have to start this from the ground up. That's it. That was such a passion of mine. I was like, I want to find the people who are doing the most good in our communities, the most good in society, the most good in the world, the most good in the business. And I want to co-labor with those people because it's going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That's why, because we're going to be able to help a bunch of people together. We're all going to feel great about it. And there's going to be a level of engagement that happens in any team, in any business, in any organization when we fought for the highest possible good of not only each other, but the organization that we are all contributing to. Yeah. That's going to leave an indelible connection between people. And that's, what do we need more in life right now? Like I would say the number one chronic illness in this country, the number one chronic disease in this country is freaking loneliness.
Right.
And that's why we're setting this up the way we are, because we all want to be able to see each other. We all want to play on a team and be able to tag in and tag out and be able to say, all right, you take over, right?
Yeah.
you take over. And so that's why we're building this through in a way where we can all have teams where not only do we compete individually with ourselves in our previous performance, but we get to compete with each other on the team, and then the major teams get to compete to see who can do the most good.
Yes.
Who can do the most good? Who can lean into the pain a little bit so that other people don't have to be pushed into the pain so much.
Absolutely.
So we can make things better for others.
Yeah.
And that it's so exciting for me to see. I just have talked to some of the other leaders in Symmetry Financial Group, seeing their excitement about it. Of course, we want to be a part of that. Of course, we want our teams to be a part of that. How do we join? How do we start up? And all the information will be there. But when you see you've been a part of teams working through this, both of you.
Yeah.
What are some of maybe the less obvious ramifications or the less obvious benefits that come from doing this event because you've been on the other side, you've gotten to see the outcomes?
I think, and I think this is going to be huge for this event too, is being together and physical activity is healing.
Yeah.
It's healing. It's also preventative. And so, hearing stories of, our intention wasn't to have this level of inspiration. We did these things in the past, but now hearing stories of, after hearing Derek's story and our story, and then joining us on these events, there are people who were like morbidly obese who are now active. Wow. Because it became something more than just for them. It became for someone else. And that is extremely powerful. And yes, of course, the main goal here is to create a better future for those who might get that diagnosis or maybe stop the diagnosis altogether. But I think on the other side is just that, again, that ripple effect of just creating healthier, happier lives. That's huge.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I think that you brought it up with mental health. If you want to be a better person, if you want to be a better husband, wife, father, son, brother, if you want to improve your business, if you're feeling that loneliness, the best thing you can do is serve others. Mm. And when you serve others, it not only helps them, but it feeds your soul. And it takes things to another level. And if we can do something that's bigger than us, if we can do something for the sake of someone else who can never repay us, that speaks to a level of generosity and integrity and kindness that will just ripple out through the rest of your life, the rest of your team's lives, and quite honestly, I mean, we've done this for a while now. When somebody comes up to you and says, you know what, I heard your story, and because of you, I went from this horrible, horrible disease, or went from this accident, or I had a heart transplant, and within my first year, I did a triathlon. And you know what? It might sound simple and it might sound basic, but feeling good feels good.
Yes.
And if you catch that, you want more of it. And all you want to do is help other people feel that. I will freely admit, I hate swimming, I hate biking, I hate running, I hate lifting weights, I hate doing all those things. But you know what? I like the way I feel after.
That's right. That's right. And it's when we stop thinking about these things, because it's the difference. It's not doing these things that are hard. It's thinking about doing these things.
Yeah.
So let's stop thinking about doing these things. Let's stop. Giving's not hard. Thinking about giving is hard.
Yeah.
Right? Exercising isn't hard. Thinking about exercise. Should I go to the gym? No, there's no decision to be made. Stop thinking. Just do.
Right.
Just do it. Just do it. Because there's not going to be a conclusion, a rational conclusion. This battle in our minds where it's like, yeah, I've thought about it a lot, and I think I really should go, even though I'm tired. It's like there's never been that outcome for me. It was pack the bag the night before. I don't make decisions before my second cup of coffee. We have to, all of those type of things. And it's been amazing as I've been talking with people about this, how many stories that I've uncovered. Yeah. How many opportunities we've had to open the door where people, that was a siloed part of their life. That was a place where they had suffered silently alone.
Yeah.
And it was weird to talk about because they don't want to make it about them. Right. But they had this very real and true experience. And because we have that level of disconnection when it comes to suffering and not wanting to make it all about us, sometimes we fail to build a community. And what we want to do is we want to shine a light saying that this is a real problem, that 100, in the 24 hours that we're in right now, that 160 people will begin their journey of moving from diagnosis to an active participant in their own health and recovery.
Yep.
Right? 160 people in this 24 hours will do that. So if that's the case, don't you know somebody? And maybe you do, and you didn't realize it. That's exactly what happened. I have a top producer on my team who we're going to get to do an interview with, and he told me that he had spent 3 years in this experience as a child.
Yeah.
As a child. And that's one of the things with LLS that I'm so excited about is they're not finished by saying that treating children is just a diluted version of treating adults.
Yeah, and it can't be.
It can't be.
Right.
There's different situations. There's different issues. Let's talk a little bit more about what LLS is doing and why that's the organization for us to support right now.
Absolutely.
No, already.
Okay, so let's start with Dare to Dream, and then we'll get into the meat of LLS. But Dare to Dream is their whole mission is to create better treatments for children. Because as you said, all they're doing right now is taking treatments that were researched for adults and just giving smaller portions of it
To little bodies
that aren't really made to survive that stuff. So these children, which we have a couple friends whose children have gone through this, they're surviving the cancer, but then later in life they're going through what you went through.
Right.
We have our friend Matt Hauser, who he, as a child, went through his cancer journey, and then just at age 16, had to have a heart transplant because of one of the chemo drugs that got into his bloodstream. Grateful that it saved his life, but there has to be a change. There has to be treatments that are specifically created for children to help that journey be as short as possible and let them live their lives and not have this haunt them later.
Yeah.
For sure.
The Dare to Dream is one of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's biggest missions that they're working on. But ultimately, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society has been doing this. Their whole mission is the end of blood cancers.
Yep.
That's a powerful mission right there. I love that. Yeah.
So, when you think about it, with leukemia, lymphoma, cancer is the number 2 cause of death in the United States. And as we live longer, then it will ultimately overtake heart disease. It just so happens that my cancer and my treatment led to my heart disease and heart failure and heart transplant. So the goal here for me is just to make it easier on the next person up.
That's And that should be all of our goal. That's how societies become great. When I love the Greek proverb, when old men plant trees that they'll never sit in the shade of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. That's how society grows great. And so when we get to this place where, as we grow through these things, we can make it better for the next person. We can make it easier for the next person. We can allow them to leverage this, because the rugged individualism only goes so far. And it turns out the furthest that it'll go is what you can take on your own.
Right.
What you're willing to take on your own. And so we don't want anybody to have to go through this journey alone, because the journey is scary enough.
Yeah.
The journey is scary enough. Why don't we build this together? Why don't we give more support to the organizations that are creating community, creating solutions for people, creating treatments that are specific to people's chronic diseases?
Yep.
Because as a society, until we get on the preventative side of this, we have to be responsive to these problems and give people who had never even had a shot.
Yeah.
Never even had a shot. They were either nurtured in their ignorance of this. They were listening to mainstream society. They were looking at food pyramids. They were told that fats were bad and sugar was good. They were told that chemicals were better than real food. That processing isn't a problem. They were told all of these things.
Right.
And we're in a situation where society is sicker, they're fatter, and they're closer to death than ever before.
Yep.
Through this fitness challenge, we can be inspiring to other people to let them know that there's no prerequisite to movement.
No.
Nope.
You don't have to be qualified to move. You don't have to be uninjured to move. You don't have to even have not gone through cancer to move. We're all moving together, and there's no set. It's like you don't have to be a high performance athlete. A lot of us are not. Nobody's going to be at this 24 hours of staying active in order to draft people for the Olympics or any of the World Games. Or you're gonna get to see, because we're gonna participate in the whole thing. You're gonna get to see us at certain points of the day dragging our wagon.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's just the nature of being up for 24 hours.
Yeah.
But the exciting thing about this is, no matter how we feel in that moment, what we are doing is quantifiably good for the organization that we're serving and the people who we get to do this with.
Yeah.
And so that's why we want you to join us. We want you to have this same experience of growth. We want you to have the same experience of connection. We want you to have this same experience of sharing in not only an activity, not only in a community, but in a challenge for the good of other people. We know what that does to our society.
Yeah.
We know what that does for our businesses and growth. And we all get to look at each other at the end and be like, yeah, you went through that shit too, huh? Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's amazing how we get to say it. We get to say that for the people who are in your position, Derek, who have to look at each other knowing that background. And it wasn't 24 hours. It wasn't 24 hours of fitness. It wasn't a self-initiated challenge.
Yeah.
It was a diagnosis that they were given. And I'm sure all of you look at each other with an amount of respect and an amount of appreciation. It's like, oh, you went through that shit too? That's tough.
It is a badge of honor, and it is a shared experience that any other survivor that I meet, I'm immediately bonded with. But when you think about it, the three of us are putting our bodies on the line for 24 hours. When you think about the people that we're serving, they get that diagnosis and they don't get the opportunity to stop. At any point in those 24 hours, we can go, you know what, that's enough, I'm done.
Tagging out.
Yep. For those people who are going through their cancer journey, they don't get to tag out. They ride that journey until it's one way or the other. All right. And hopefully, it's the side where you get to the other side and you're feeling whole again. But even after it's done, there's so many things that you have to put back together.
Yep.
Yes.
So this is what we're doing for all of those people.
With your journey and kind of back to why LLS, with your journey, I mean, the treatment saved your life.
Yes.
From cancer. Obviously, there's an opportunity with the research piece, because that's why you had to get your heart transplant. But through this whole journey, there was the research or the treatment that saved your life, and then the support on the other side from LLS after, because you survived cancer, and then you're like,
Yeah.
what now?
And LLS provides support, financial support. They provide that community for survivors. And when I say survivor, you're a survivor the minute you're told that you have cancer, no matter what you're going through, if you're in remission, if you're not in remission.
Yeah.
And so the resources that LLS provides to help you bridge back into life,
Yeah.
I mean, they're just priceless. And, you know, again, if we can get to one day, just imagine never having to hear the words, you have cancer.
Yep.
And just ending this horrible, horrible disease. And I mean, listen, when I was initially diagnosed, I mean, I was in another life. I interviewed oncologists, and I talked to them in sidebars, and they talked to me about how they were stumbling around in the dark, just trying not to kill people. Ultimately, cancer treatment at the time was just basically taking toxins and flooding the body with toxins, trying to kill all the cancer, but not the patient. And now, with the funding that LLS has been providing, they've been able to design targeted therapies.
Wow.
All right, so that you can pinpoint the attack and remove the cancer, but do the least amount of harm to the person, so that they can live a full and fulfilling life after. That's what we're doing.
Yep.
That's awesome. If you're looking at this and you're saying, I want to be a part of this, just know you don't have to go through the 24 hours. But this isn't about tagging out. This is being ready to be tagged in. This is about being ready to be tagged into a bigger life, a bigger vision, being able to be in this place where we are. It seems like a lofty vision to be able to say that when we can see a world, we could see a world inside of our lifetimes. And if not inside of our lifetimes, let's plant the damn tree so we create some shade for the next lifetime.
Exactly.
But there have been a lot of things that were seen as lofty at one time that once we took those initial steps, we were able to not only overcome, but invite other people to do the same thing, invite them into that journey. And that's what we want to do with you, is invite you into this journey of radical generosity. We want to invite you into this journey of living a bigger life. I heard this quote this week, and it's by this pretty incredible skateboarder. He asked, how many worlds are in your world? How many worlds are in your world? And right now, since I've gotten to meet you, there are 2 more worlds in my world. And then there's this big LLS world that I'm getting introduced to as well.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, how many worlds are in your world? Because if it's just one, there's not going to be success there. There's not going to be lasting success. There's not going to be lasting or resilient well-being there. You're not going to find fulfillment there. Because if you're just living one life in one world, you're missing the invitation to a bigger life, to a bigger vision, to bigger solutions than any of us have access to individually. But together, we can do amazing things. Together, we can do more than any one of us could do individually. And together, we can take on a big topic like cancer, like chronic disease and illness. We can take on topics like disengagement and where individuality becomes toxic, or how to work as a team. How do we get higher levels of engagement within our companies? How do we build a company that does the most good? How do we become another bright light for people, and become another source of light for those oncologists who instead of them stumbling down around in the dark, we may not provide the whole light switch, but we can sure give them a damn flashlight so they can find out. And the work that they've already been doing proves that they can do more.
Yep.
And that's the exciting thing, is all the innovation that's going on in this world, all of the healing that's going on, and all of the families who no longer have to suffer in silence. And so let's bring this message to the world. Let's bring a message of hope, and let's do that together. Let's do that within your company. If you want to be a sponsor, there's a link in the description, as well as we also have a QR code that you can scan to become a sponsor, because we need our sponsors in order to do this, in order to pay for the media. Because 100% of the proceeds from this event, just like every other year, this will be the 5th year I've run this, 100% of the proceeds are going to LLS. We don't take the money. We don't take in the money. We pay for this whole thing. It's sometimes on the front end, I'm just like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? But on the back end, there's that feeling that y'all just share.
Yeah, that's soul feeding.
Soul feeding. And we want to invite you into that. We are going to have just such a great time. It's going to start with the 5K. It's going to end with it's going to end with a CrossFit type workout. There's going to be so many things happening during that time, so much media, as well as being able to see the other people involved.
Yeah.
So let's build that community, let's build that connection, and let's provide a solution where there's just the sparks and the embers are there, but we can pour some gas all over it with this event. So
Love it.
very excited to be doing this with you guys. And
Likewise.
yeah, and join us. Make sure to like and subscribe on this page. Make sure to visit Unlock Potential 360, where you can find out more about how you individually can get involved, how you can get your company to be involved. But number one, don't miss out so that the next person, the next one of those 160 that are going to be diagnosed has to miss out. Get in so that they can start because you're a part of the solution, they can start finding that solution as well. That's what we're doing here, and that's what we're fired up about. And we're so excited to have you along for that journey with us. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Unlock Potential. Follow us across all socials at Unlock Potential 360 and visit our website at unlockpotential360.com to shop our gear and see what's coming up next.
The information and views expressed by our host or guests on the Unlock Potential podcast are their own, and not a substitute for professional medical or fitness advice. Always consult with qualified healthcare or fitness professionals before starting any new exercise program or making changes to your current routine.